We all wear masks, not the kind made of cloth or porcelain, but the invisible kind, woven from expectations, fears, and the desire to be accepted. From the moment we step outside our door, or even when we scroll through our phones, something inside of us asks, "Who do I need to be today?" We smile when we do not feel like smiling. We stay silent when we want to speak. We speak when we would rather remain silent. And after a while, we might begin to wonder whether the mask has become more real than the person underneath. Think back to childhood for a moment. Children play roles. They pretend to be superheroes, doctors, kings, and queens. But a child knows it is only play. As we grow older, the roles do not vanish. They become heavier. Student, employee, friend, leader, lover. Each role carries expectations, and slowly the play turns into performance. The difference is that we forget it is a role. We begin to think, "This is me." But deep down there is a quiet suspicion. Is it really? Philosophers have often spoken about this hidden tension. The ancient Stoics already noticed how much of life is shaped by appearances and by the fear of judgment. Later, thinkers like Kierkegaard described the individual as trapped between the self they present to the world and the self they are before truth. And in the 20th century, psychologists began to speak of the persona, the mask that mediates between our inner life and society. It is not always bad. Masks can protect us, but they can also suffocate us. Why do we put them on in the first place? Part of the answer lies in fear. Fear of rejection, fear of failure, fear of being known too deeply and found lacking. Imagine showing your true self, your doubts, your weaknesses, your unpolished edges, and imagine that the world turns away. That fear is enough to keep most of us behind a safe disguise. Better to be liked for the mask than to be unloved for the truth. Or so we think. Yet there is another reason: desire. We do not only fear the judgment of others, we long for their approval. The mask becomes a tool to gain love, respect, status. We show a version of ourselves that is desirable. But here lies the paradox. When someone praises us, we secretly wonder whether they truly see us, or just the costume we wear. The more approval we gain, the more hollow it can feel, because we know it is not the real person being loved, but the mask. This leads to loneliness. Not the loneliness of being physically alone, but the deeper loneliness of being unseen. A man may be surrounded by friends, admired by colleagues, loved by family, and yet feel unknown, because the mask never comes off, even in the most intimate spaces. It is a strange kind of prison, one where the bars are invisible and we ourselves are the ones holding them in place. But here is the question: is it possible to live without masks at all? Probably not. Social life requires a certain performance. We cannot simply pour out our entire inner life in every situation. That would be unbearable, even destructive. Courtesy, manners, roles, all of these are, in some sense, masks. They structure life. They help us communicate. The real problem is not that we wear them, but that we forget they are masks. When we identify completely with the role, when we lose contact with the deeper self beneath, then the performance consumes us. How do we rediscover that deeper self? The first step is honesty. Not necessarily honesty with everyone at every moment, but honesty with ourselves. To sit in silence and ask, am I living as who I am, or only as who I am expected to be? Silence has a way of stripping off illusions. It is uncomfortable, but in silence the mask begins to crack. The second step is courage, the courage to show vulnerability, even if only in small circles, to admit weakness, to allow others to see the unfinished parts of us. This is frightening because it risks rejection, but only through such risk can genuine connection happen. A friendship or love that rests only on the mask is fragile. A relationship that touches the truth is unshakable. The third step is humility, to recognize that the self beneath the mask is not self-made, perfect, or invulnerable. Many people wear masks of strength to hide weakness, masks of wisdom to hide ignorance, masks of calm to hide anxiety. Humility accepts the truth as it is. We are limited, we are fallible, and yet we are capable of growth. In this recognition lies freedom, because humility makes it possible to be accepted as we truly are, not as we pretend to be. There is also a strange liberation in realizing that others are wearing masks too. The person you admire, the one who seems flawless, they too carry insecurities hidden from view. The one who intimidates you with confidence may secretly be fragile. When we see this, the world becomes less threatening. We are no longer alone in our hiding. We are all actors on the same stage. The difference is whether we know we are acting or whether we have forgotten. But let us return to the deepest question. What is the self behind the mask? Some say it is simply another mask, that there is no core, only layers. But if that were true, why do we long so desperately to be known? Why do we feel the emptiness when praise touches only the surface? There is something within us that resists being reduced to a role. Something within us that says, I am more than what I show. That inner voice is fragile but also unbreakable. It whispers in the moments when the mask slips, when we are caught off guard, when we laugh without calculation, when we cry without shame, when we are alone with our thoughts. In those moments, the true self appears. It may not be as polished or impressive as the mask, but it is real. And reality, even if imperfect, is always stronger than illusion. So what do we do with the masks we wear? Perhaps the goal is not to throw them away, but to hold them lightly, to remember that they are tools, not identities, to step on and off the stage of roles without forgetting the person who exists when the stage is empty. Imagine the freedom of living like this, to speak with honesty, without the exhausting weight of constant performance, to let others see enough of you that love can reach the real person inside, to rest in the knowledge that your worth is not built on how well the mask fits, but on something deeper, something unshakable. The mask will always be part of life, but it does not have to define life. We can choose to step back, to breathe, to remember who we are when no one is watching. And when we do, we may discover that the self behind the mask is not as weak, not as unlovable as we once feared. In the end, the greatest tragedy is not that we wear masks, but that we die never having removed them. To live authentically is to risk, but it is also to taste freedom. The world may not always accept the truth of who we are, but what is the alternative? To live loved for a mask, while the true self remains in silence. That is a cost too great to bear. So ask yourself, what mask are you wearing today? And more importantly, what would happen if, even for a moment, you dared to take it off?